Well, hello guys. We're coming here to talk about an update on a case, and this is kind of a little freaky, to be honest with you. If you guys don't recognize this man is Rex Heuermann. He is a accused serial killer, and he's accused of unaliving 4 escort workers. I'm sure you guys heard it, Gilgo 4. And those were Maureen Brainard-Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Waterman and Amber Costello. And of course, Maureen Brainard-Barnes was the first that appears to have been his victim out of these 4, yet he was charged with hers the last. And so, if you guys recall this case, this right here is Shannon Gilbert, and she's the one that disappeared. They were actually looking for her on a completely different case when they came across the very first person that they found, and that was Melissa Barthelemy, I believe is the pronunciation. My hooked on phonics is a little bit broken. But at the end of the day, they ended up finding 10 sets of remains along this stretch of roadway, remote area on Ocean Parkway. So why are we just now bringing this case up again? And, what is going on in this case? Well, quite frankly, it kind of freaks me out a little bit to even be bringing it up. But they've moved their search. So, this is where, right here is where the Massapequa, this is where Rex Heuermann lived, okay? And then we have this right here, which is right about where everything was kind of found. This is kind of the stretch of roadway that we've been seeing for the last decade of, little pin dots and stuff like that. Well, just recently, we're getting reports that they're searching all the way over here right now. And there is no information about what they're looking for. They're being very tight-lipped about this. But if we know anything about serial killers, we know they don't stop, right? We know that they have a starting point, and we know that they have no finishing point. That's the problem with them. That's why we have to throw the key away when we get them and lock them up. They are doing more investigations. Thank you, Jules. Yes, they are. So they're doing more investigations. That is about as much information as we have. But what kind of investigations are they doing? Are they thinking there's more, remains? Because, again, it comes back to, we know this person doesn't stop. And think about it. Thank you guys. Maureen Brainard-Barnes was one of his first victims that we know of. Now, I truly believe there's victims before 2007. But for this particular matter, let's just talk about what we know and about the Gilgo 4. Maureen Brainard-Barnes apparently lost her life in 2007. Yet his next victim, which was Melissa Barthelemy, wasn't, unalived until 2009. So there's a 2-year year gap there. I have heard about that. Okay, we have heard a cooling off period in the past because of other criminals like Rex Heuermann. So I'm not too surprised about that, but then you kind of see this heating up because Waterman and Amber Costello were both unalived in 2010. So what happened from 2010 to 22 or 23 when he was finally arrested? There's no way. I'm sorry. There's no way I believe that he just stopped. And there was a more sadistic person that was kind of dumping out there as well, because there were pieces here and kind of pieces there, Fire Island and all this other stuff, It got a little, yeah. So I really believe there was more people acting in this particular area as far as, who was dumping there. I believe there was at least Rex and another person. But the ones that were found earlier are from 1996 in the 90s. So it makes you almost, it's creepy, right? So you have all these pieces kind of popping up from victims from the late 90s. And then there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, 2007, 2009, 2010, 2010, these were when these people disappeared. They weren't really found until 2010 when they were looking for Shannon Gilbert. Shannon Gilbert, which is this young lady right here, she disappeared on a May, right here. They got her for May 1st, 2010. She ended up disappearing in May 2010. This was not, in my opinion, when you look at this story, it was nowhere connected in this. I don't think she was unalived by any type of serial type of person. I truly believe, if you want my honest belief, looking at everything, Michael Pack, which was her driver, is the one that had her cell phone. Apparently, from my understanding, he's the one that turned it over to law enforcement. Now, unless I'm wrong about that, that bodes right into my theory, because according to everything that we know about when she was running from that house, she had her cell phone on her. So how did it wind up in Michael Pack's possession if he's the one that truly had it? And that's my understanding. He had her phone. And if he had her phone, he said he never saw her after she ran from that house. We know for a fact she was on the phone with law enforcement. So the only way he would have it in his possession is if he did in fact see her after she left that house. And she wound up unalived someplace else later. And of course, they were looking at the owner of the house as opposed to her driver. I truly think they need to be focusing on the Michael Pack, which was her driver of the car, because of the phone. How did he get a hold of her phone? So we have this, and then again, this is what's concerning. I'm wondering if we have more, if they're thinking that there might be more victims here, or if they think that this area here is, holds evidence of some sort. So I'm interested in finding out. The only reason I'm coming here live is because I know there are people following this case. And this is a huge development, to be honest with you, because there has been literally no movement in this case, other than I think the biggest movement we had in this case was when Rex was finally charged with Maureen Brainard-Barnes, homicide. So hearing that they're moving down here just makes you kind of wonder, what are they really looking for? And they're not telling the public anything. So I guess we're just going to have to wait to see if there's any evidence, or maybe some other people. There was a lot of people that kind of disappeared in and around this time, and this incident in the New York area, and some of these people came from Manhattan. And quite frankly, there is this escort business there because a lot of people have substance abuse problems or other problems that they need quick cash for, and this is kind of the easiest trade to keep yourself afloat. My understanding. I personally, I don't know what it's like to be put in that position, but obviously this is what was happening. So how many other people are out there that were victims of Rex? I mean, there's a reason why law enforcement pounced on Rex when they did, guys. It was my understanding he was starting to have some of those old behaviors that ended up losing these 4 young ladies their life. So it makes me wonder, why all of a sudden right then is he starting to do it? I don't think he ever stopped. I just think after they started looking around and found them in 2010, he probably had a cool-off period, but there's no way that compulsion went away. And he may have found a new dumping ground, someplace that nobody knew about. When he was younger, believe it or not, he worked for the Parks Department. Him and his brother actually worked these areas, checking them when he worked for the Parks Department when he was like some 17 or 18 years old. So he probably knows some places that nobody's really thinking about. And it just, I'm sorry, I just don't think he stopped. How many, on a show of one to hands, I know we don't have a whole lot of people for this one, but I think we have like 220 people in here. By a show of hands, who believes that Rex Heuermann, and I know you guys recognize this man, he's a huge guy too. This guy is massive. How many believe that this man just stopped? If you believe he stopped, put a 1 in the chat. If you think he kept going, he just got better at hiding what he was doing, put a 2 in the chat. Like, I'm a 2 all day long personally. I mean, we've watched this stuff go on for years and years and years. And the one thing that these people have in common is the fact of this facade that they've been able to maintain. They were able to live the normal lifestyles. They were able to look like that they had everything going on. Meanwhile, they had this dark dwelling secret that lied beneath them, that they were able to let out here and there. And when it was let out, it was like this beast that came out in them. And I truly believe that's what this was. He was probably acting like the nicest person until that moment. And then it was all over with. It creeps me out. So, we don't know what they're going to find here, but I personally believe that there's more victims of his out there. There's no way, in my opinion, that it's only these 4 right here. So just to go over, this is the one, where is it? This is the one right over here, if you can see my pen. The one furthest over there, Maureen Brainard-Barnes. They believe she lost her life in 2007. And then after that, we had, it looks like Melissa's right here. She lost her life in 2009. And then Megan and Amber, the 2 in the middle, were 2010. And none of these would have been found, honestly, if it wasn't for her disappearance. And they couldn't find her. They ended up finding her later. But in the search for her, they did this, they had a new dog, or they were doing some training. And so the trainer said, you know what, let me just take the dog out here. You never know what we're going to find. I don't think that they really anticipated on finding anything. But when they got out there, Melissa Barthelemy, this one right here, was actually found first. And then 2 days later, the other 3 were found. And again, even though Maureen Brainard-Barnes was one of the first to lose her life in these 4, she was the last to be charged against Rex Heuermann. So that's kind of where we're at. And this just kind of shows you. So the right dot right down here is Massapequa. That's where Rex Heuermann lives. And then right here where the A is, that is Gilgo Beach, and where the stretch of roadway that they started finding, victims. And then all the way over here is where their new searches are being conducted right now, and they won't tell us why. So there's your information on Rex Heuermann, the most up-to-date information. Now, the last thing I want to say is I haven't heard any more about the $1 million peacock deal with Asa Ellerup. Now, the reason why we say that is because it probably is going to go forward, even though there's some people that are hot under the collar, but I've never seen anybody be able to make a law retroactive. So even if New York was able to get something pushed through, I don't know how it's going to affect her retroactively. So I have a funny feeling she's going to continue with this. I heard that she's still making weekly calls to her husband, kind of standing by her man until she hears the true evidence against her husband. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, she has to know that some of the things that were found there, predominantly that belt, had to have come from her house. She's been with her husband since, 1992 or 94? I don't have my timeline. We built a whole entire timeline for this from there, when he was with his prior wife before he met Asa. It sounds like, to be honest with you, it sounds like he was having an affair with Asa before he divorced his wife. I'm just saying, when you look at the timeline, I'm just saying, it kind of looks like it, okay? And then we have this attorney that's bringing in some other people. And he's like, some people think this other attorney's like this whack job. And it's for, the guy that's the attorney for Shannon Gilbert. I don't really think he's a whack job. I think he's just trying to find answers. And I think he believes that it's somehow connected to Rex Heuermann. But he also has another girl at the Fire Island girl. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. She had dark hair. She looked really innocent, but apparently I guess she got into the whole, substance abuse way back in the 90s. And so he's trying to say that there was this swinger thing that going on at Rex's house, and this girl was running out. Everything I've learned about this particular case, I don't see where that's possible or plausible, to be honest with you. Even the timeline and everything like that, like they would have just gotten married when this whole situation had happened. I mean, just looking at everything, it didn't fit. It didn't fit in my opinion. Could it have? Yeah, I guess so. Because in all fairness, you'd probably do a lot more crazier stuff in the beginning of the relationship than later in it. I don't know. I don't know about you crazy kids out there these days and age. I'm a prude, so I don't know about all the swinger stuff, okay? I'll be honest with you. But if it was happening, I don't know. And we don't know what's going on down here. So there's your updates on the Gilgo 4. God bless each and every one of you. I'm going through all of the cases that I have been covering over some time, and I'm just trying to figure out some updates because I think if I need updates on them, you guys will probably too. So this is for your Gilgo 4. God bless you, and I will be back later. Let me just go through here. I see some people are asking some questions in here. Let me just go through the list before I sign off here. I live in Manorville. That's where the thing is. So, Danny, if you're still in the audience, it's going to take me a while to get back down to you. Hopefully, I'll see your comment. How is it? I mean, is it intense there? Are people noticing the law enforcement presence out there? Is it a large presence? I mean, I looked at some of the photos, and I have to say it's pretty noticeable out there. But I'll see if I can find your comment maybe down further. So thanks for those that were sending some gifts. God bless you. I see those are in the thing. I saw on News 12 they were searching St. Peter's and St. Paul's. Let me write that down, searching. Thank you for that. He had a storage unit in Nevada and a place down south where they found the car. Yes, deep-seated female. That is correct. He had, actually, I thought I saw him on 2 timeshares there, but it looked like he sold one like really quickly after he got it, but he maintained the other one for a significant amount of time. And then it was South Carolina that he has the other property that kind of butts up with his brother. Now, his brother, Craig, in my opinion, is equally worrisome. He's a big ogre too, and he's kind of like a doomsday guy and just lives like way, way, way off the reservation. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The family's a little, I don't know what happened in their childhood, but have two, like you could have one messed up kid, but to have 2 weird people and you're like 2 brothers? I don't know. It seems like that just tells me that there was some childhood stuff going on. I don't know. Call me crazy. People do. Guy just walking his dog, and his dog wandered off and found her. No, actually, it wasn't. I know Mel Anna, it wasn't just a guy. It was definitely law enforcement, and it was definitely them going out there and him running his dog. I remember that absolutely, without a doubt. It was not just some random person walking his dog, and the dog found him. It was law enforcement out there when that happened. I remember that. Because the body parts matched Gilgo body parts. No. The Gilgo girls were intact. The ones that were found in the late 90s, they were not intact. And they were on different areas. Definitely significant distance away from other parts. I'm trying to make it PG. Over here. So you're going to have to use your a lot of missing ladies of night. Yes. Melana. Yes. There's a lot of and it's so sad because they are very vulnerable. They put themselves in very vulnerable positions. Even if they are assaulted or hurt in any way, they're usually the last. I mean, if they survive it, it's very rarely that they go and actually report it, which makes other women of the night, so to speak, more vulnerable. So, I mean, I know women of the night, they watch TikTok too. So if you happen to work in this profession, I know as hard as it is, or to bring attention, if you are ever attacked out there, I don't give a rat's butt. You report it. because you don't know when it's going to really, really help. You need to make sure that it's on the books. Look, the law enforcement knows this kind of stuff happens, right? They're not trying to, if you're a victim of a crime, trust me, law enforcement typically treats you like a victim, unless you're dealing with an a-hole. And, if you're dealing with an a-hole, you're just dealing with an a-hole. Find another less a-hole to deal with. That's, torso, sun wine girl. I didn't want to read it, but yes, you're right. It was pretty brutal out there. It was pretty brutal out there. But I truly believe, like Shannon Gilbert, though, like I really believe because I went through the paperwork for them, and they had Michael Pack as miscellaneous, and they had the guy in the house as a suspect. And I'm just thinking, I think they were looking at the guy so much so that they were not even considering Michael Pack in Shannon Gilbert's homicide. But I truly believe Michael Pack needs to be looked at, and he needs to be looked at hard, especially, and I'm pretty sure I got to go back, because the reason why I remember saying that I think it's Michael Pack is because of the press conference law enforcement gave, and where they describe retrieving the phone from Michael. And when they told me that, that's when everything changed for me. And I remember his story, and I remember him specifically saying after she ran out the house, he tried to find her and he could never find her. And I'm thinking, but she ran out of the house with her phone, because she was on the phone with 911 when she left that house. We heard her on the phone. So she had her phone when she left that house. And if he gave her phone to law enforcement, that tells you everything that you need to know. And when I looked at the paperwork and him just being down there as a miscellaneous person or witness, it unnerved me. I think they got it wrong with Shannon Gilbert. And I think that Michael Pack needs to be looked at. I absolutely think that Michael Pack needs to be looked at. Thank you. Thank you. Me too. So, but I'll keep you guys posted. If I hear any more about this area down here or what they're looking for, they're keeping it close to their vest. So hopefully, if it's some victims, I pray to God that they do find more victims. Not that I want them to be more victims. I just feel like there are more unnamed victims that deserve to come home. And deserve to be named and deserve justice. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe he stopped. So God bless you guys. Talk to you soon. Rock it out with your coffee beans out.